That in the Chronicles of Darkness Vampire Requiem for London. Tonight we set our scene in an old warehouse on the eastern side of London. Bought out but not really used for anything. By a shell company that may as well be invisible to the busy city of London. It is here that a number of kindred have gathered in this quiet, rusty, broken down place to discuss the matters of the night. Among them, the still living harpy. Although this place certainly isn't her scene, given how grimy and horrid it is. She still very much looks as if she were at a high-rise Elysium. Two other noteworthy kindred that are in attendance is the Invictus Knight Eliza and also the Bagman. Ever present in times of uncertainty. How are you dressed for this wondrous event? Or less than, rather.
Phineas really only has the one suit, but he tends to wear it. He probably had to get some repairs done to it, given the last scene, but such is the way of things.
Such is the way of things. And Percival.
Yes.
How do you make your entrance?
I think also, before she given Reventus gone back to his roots of just being like a dude, so like jeans, boots, jacket, just hanging out.
More casual.
Yeah.
Makes sense given the occasion. It's there are a few kindred, like the harpy, who are trying to appear as if they're at some ballroom dance. Most kindred, however, look the part. But when you arrive, Amber will approach you both. Good evening, my friends. Good to see you're both still alive.
Good to be like, good to see you as well.
How are you doing?
Holding up as best I can without a domain to return to. Although in many ways a greater loss of a city than myself. I'm not sure how half a domain will feed themselves without me. Though I'm sure some opportunistic craven will step in to fill the void.
Oh, most assuredly. Vacuums like this rarely go unfilled for long.
Ever more dangerous to do in this current climate, though. The representative for the prince, Lady Elizabeth, I have approached to try and persuade that any attempts to do so should be restrained and examined before being given the requisite approval. We don't want to open another club or form a new territory only for the hunters to immediately pounce upon it and give away even more to them than we already have.
In line. But do we know anything about Grail? Should I back at these hunters besides the police?
That's actually what Elizabeth and Lady Elizabeth and the Archon Bagman are here to discuss.
Excellent.
Supposedly Bagman's got a lead.
But not surprising to me in the least, honestly.
A lot of the domain has been feeding their information through to him. Although I believe a breakthrough came with Coldmorn. He's managed to suss out who some of the benefactors for our little CTC break-off are.
That's something, at least.
Bagman's been saying that this goes a lot higher up the chain of command than what we've been seeing. Which doesn't surprise me. From the way this has all been handled, it's as if the hunters have been attempting to play vampire. Play us at our own game. Hide behind puppets and proxies. Keep us jumping at shadows. Dummy accounts, false identities, etc., etc. Which again wouldn't surprise me. You'd need to if you were going to face us. But still. Bagman thinks he can approach some of them. Cut a head or two off the Hydra. Wouldn't solve the problem, but would certainly allow us to retaliate for a change. The king has also been attempting to get the police force back under control. Can't touch the ECTC, but he can mess with their greater org. And certainly realign the apparatus of the CTC itself. And I know Lady Elizabeth, has plans to make a serious send a very serious message to the hunters. According to her and Bagman, it's not just the ECTC.
Who else is involved?
I believe you already know. You've met them. Well, this fine gentleman here has. She points at Phineas. The company known as Charon Group.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not sure how they are connected to the ECTC. But two large hunter organizations working for the same end in the same city. If such a thing were to happen in our society, there most certainly would have been a discussion beforehand. I can't help but feel such discussions have been held there as well. But Elizabeth is apparently... Lady Elizabeth. She corrects herself for like the 6th time. Has supposedly found one of their most major facilities. Outside London itself. According to Bagman, they have not just been destroying kindred, but also have been attempting to capture them for study. I can only imagine that is what would have happened to me had you not arrived, Phineas.
I'll be quite honest, most of the work done before we ambushed the ambulance was Mr. Smith. I merely helped him onto the roof and called in a favor.
Oh, and I have got nothing but gratitude for Mr. Smith as well. However, he is not here for me to thank. So, I've been doing a bit of digging myself, and I've noticed Chiron Group has been buying up a lot of clinics within the domain. Wouldn't surprise me if a few of them were safe houses, or even holding a kindred or two. Lady Elizabeth hasn't stated it outright, but I get the feeling she is under the perception they may have put all their eggs in one basket, or at least most of them, with this facility outside of London. It's not how businesses really work in the modern era. Multinational businesses like Chiron tend to have a lot of contingencies in place. Things are expected to go wrong at that scale. So they have backups, or they overcompensate. And if they're hunting kindred, no doubt they've done all of those things. They can certainly afford it. I've seen their share prices.
Do we have any? You said they've been buying up clinics. Do we know which ones they have been? Any that might be more likely to be holding kindred or to act as safe houses?
Not yet, but I imagine if you manage to get inside of a facility, there's likely information in there that could tell you which ones are and which ones aren't. At least that'd be my guess.
All it takes is getting into what is most assuredly a very well-guarded facility filled with hunters, armed to the teeth.
According to the Lady Elizabeth, it very much is. Getting in would be extremely difficult. We could mass the domain. The area is relatively masquerade safe. It sits just off a highway. On its lonesome. But if anyone off the motorway were to see all of those figures fighting each other in the darkness, well, things could get very complicated very quickly. And no doubt dozens and dozens of kindred would die. I certainly wouldn't want to attend. And I can only imagine the domain would have no interest in being conscripted.
Most assuredly not. Bulk of it, at least. Depending on the method we plan on tackling that facility, I'd be more than willing to go. If it requires a degree of subtlety, I might be out of my element, however.
Lady Elizabeth has a plan, but I believe you would be best suited to one particular half of it, as you say.
Oh.
I don't know all the details. It may be best if you speak with her about it. I'm just here to be a pretty face, as always.
We all have our strengths.
a harpy can't seem to be absent, and lacking in the latest gossip, well, it just wouldn't do, even in these times. I very much hold my title to its standard, I'll have you know. She smokes. But if you'd like, I could introduce you to the good lady.
We've met, I believe. I'm at a coterie with Mr. Coldmorn. I'm given to understand that he studies under her.
Well then, all the better. Well then, if you kindly follow me.
Phineas will go along as well.
Lady Elizabeth hears you approaching well before you reach her from across the other side of the room. Your footsteps, along with everybody else's, echo quite loudly in this industrial space. Lady Elizabeth herself appears to be standing inside a control room of sorts, above and just to the left of a metal stairway. Like the harpy, her dress is not well suited to this environment, but she remains on form anyway. Because she can be. And you enter. Elizabeth can be seen speaking with Bagman. And when you approach, she'll turn her head to you and give you a slight nod of acknowledgement.
They're like a general way that you should address your superiors, or should like Phineas be bowing or something of that nature? Because Tiger's not sure out of character.
Roll me intelligence socialize, because that actually socializes the stat for etiquette in this game.
I'm gonna spend a willpower because this might be important.
Don't want to be murdered before the mission even starts.
What's the roll?
Intelligence plus socialize. Percival, you're not a member of the Invictus, so you'll be working with a -2 dice penalty. Because this is an unfamiliar culture to you.
That's fair. Here I go. One whole dice.
You should spend a willpower.
Yeah.
I'll spend the willpower. I forget how willpower works.
You gain 3 dice.
Okay.
I got a success.
Alright, all you need is 1.
I don't know shit.
Uh-oh.
Just follow Phineas's lead.
Yeah. I feel like Porky's brain is going like, nope, it went down. Maybe something can.
Okay. So, Phineas, you generally. You. You know, it's generally simple as bowing in silence. The Invictus have a relatively strict code of etiquette, but it does vary from elder to elder. Some are more lax than others. You know, however, that Lady Elizabeth is very much a traditionalist Invictus elder. She would probably expect you to bow, and probably not to speak unless spoken to, or at least not to initiate conversation.
Phineas, in that case, will give the proper bow and wait until she starts the conversation.
Elizabeth will turn to the harpy and she will say to her and you, volunteers, guests, or brokers of information? She frames that statement as a question.
Is she asking us or is she asking the harpy?
She's sort of asking all three of you. So you can respond to this.
I won't claim to speak for Mr. LaCroix here, but I personally am here to volunteer for the mission that you are preparing. I've been told I might have a place in it.
Likewise, I'm here to see if I have to with me as well.
I see. Well, we definitely need those who would be willing to brave the Inquisitor's torch. There are a few kindred with such courage in their hearts these nights.
Perhaps we shall inspire others to sign up as well.
Were it so easy. But I do hope you are correct. How much has the good harpy informed you of the current situation?
It's informed us that the Chiron group and the CTC are working together, that Chiron is buying up several clinics, potentially using them to hold torpid kindred or as safe houses, and that there's a plan on an attack of a facility of theirs in order to find information, among other things, I'm sure. She told me that I would be of use during a certain part of it, but she did not tell me what that part was.
Well, I have, with the assistance of Bagman and various other luminaries of the court have been able to get a glimpse into the structure and security of the fortress we seek to lay siege to. It is very well defended and heavily fortified against any sort of kindred incursion. Very specific tricks and traps designed to thwart our native abilities. From the mere layout of the building itself, you can see how it was designed to thwart our kind. These individuals know what they are doing. More importantly, however, is the sheer number of them. Both are... Oh, I sneeze. Oh.
Bless you.
Okay. Normally I mute myself when I sneeze. I forgot to this time. The good Lady Elizabeth does not sneeze. She is dead. Corpses cannot sneeze.
I imagine they could if they wanted to, but why would you want to?
It's true. You probably could if you wanted to keep the masquerade. More importantly, however, is the sheer number of them. That both shows how fragile the masquerade is, and how much of a threat this particular institution of mortals are. My goal, our goal, is to split them in two. We cannot infiltrate this facility with so many boots on the ground, and with technology and equipment designed to defeat our abilities. This will require a multi-pronged effort. The first being to thin their numbers and to separate them from our facility and provide us with sufficient time to infiltrate it. For this, I have a plan. An Elysium. Yes.
To draw them out.
The hunters have become more and more aware of our presence within the court, to the point that I was made aware that they could have assaulted us at the last Elysium. They knew where we were hosting court. They knew we were present, and they knew some of who were present. Very, very dangerous for them to know that. For them to have such intimate information of us. That they know some of us by name. Yet they did not. But they could have. It is, to my understanding, they had very specific reasons as to why they did not lay siege to that particular court. However, I am also to understand it was only for that particular court. Were we to host another with kindred in such large numbers, no doubt we would be rapidly assaulted in a very coordinated and pre-planned fashion. So, as I'm sure you've already surmised, we will simply host a fake Elysium. Of course, some kindred cannot be aware that it is. And should any of this information, should any aspect of this plan leave this room, I will personally sever your head from your body myself. Not that I would expect you to do so, of course. For if you have approached me seeking to assist us in the defense of the domain, I can only assume you have common sense.
In the nature of this plan, one could say we either have a good amount of common sense or none at all.
Indeed, but that is how all great plans function. They require bold and difficult decision making, and necessary sacrifices to be made. While you are defending the Elysium and buying us time, it is at that moment that a separate team shall be sent in to infiltrate the facility. That information, however, I would not be able to divulge to you if you will be defending the Elysium.
That makes sense. On the offhand chance we get captured, you wouldn't want to risk ruining the entire plan.
Even if you were to reveal parts of our plan of action by accident, the less you know on this particular subject, the better. We are currently seeking a concrete means to retaliate against this Charon group. We know little of who controls them as an institution. Only they are organized and have a great deal of knowledge surrounding our kind and how we function, but are very much seeking more. More lore, more knowledge of us. But their greatest weakness, their frailty, lies in the fact that they are a business. Once matters here become unprofitable for them, I find it likely that they will withdraw. There are already several means through which to convey that to them. Once this particular plan is said and done. This ECTC is substantially more threatening, however. They appear to have some sort of ideological grudge against our kind. They do not appear to operate for the purposes of acquiring knowledge or for profit. In fact, they seem to be doing this out of a sense of I was going to say misplaced righteousness, but I believe the true answer is fear. Fear of the threat we are to them, and fear of the threat that we may provide to the domain at large, not seeming to understand that this domain is very much ours and not theirs, regardless of their personal opinions. However, information on this ECTCs is about as easy to come by as it is about Chiron Group's own institutional leaders. Bagman will, after standing pretty much just by Eliza for all this time, will finally interject. Something I'm working on. As I'm sure you've heard from some of the guests and other volunteers here, I have reason to believe this goes all the way up to government big leagues. We're not just talking a splinter unit from the police force. We're talking national security. MI5 levels of how to put it? You know what? I'm in polite company. MI5 levels of you may wish to brace yourselves very quickly because it will get very messy very quickly levels of MI5, I guess. It's bad. Very poor situation. Would say a lot as to why they've been as successful as they are and why they continue to be so successful. Now, what is concerning me is where they're getting all their tech from. I'm not sure if you've seen all the stuff in their goodie bags, but it certainly ain't normal. In fact, some of it's kind of out there. I've noticed some similar stuff on Chiron as well, although it's quite different. They just seem to have out and out, well, Were I immortal, I call them superpowers, but some of their abilities resemble our own. See,
Yeah, some of.
oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Some of the ones that Benjamin and I encountered were sprouting claws. One of them dug into his skin and started spewing out some insectile cloud.
So they usurp us to our own throne. Even more reason to prioritize them. Yeah, I'm not sure who's giving who what, but my guess is, considering Charon's background and what they've been doing, I'd wager a guess is that this little partnership is that ECTC's the muscle and Charon's the brains. At least in some capacity. But I think if you can take out one, you cripple the other, if you know what I mean.
Checks out.
That's just a hunch from someone who's been in the military industrial sector for a very, very long time. Nothing to back it, but very much a professional opinion. But I don't know who's supplying who with their tech, because they both appear to be different. And I don't know how the ECTC would have been able to get their hands on any of this, let alone create it. I mean, there's some wild stuff they have their hands on. You know they got a gun that shoots lightning?
I do now.
Some straight up stuff out of those, like... But, you know, those weird urban myths about... like Hitler and co. working on some sci-fi occult tech. Like those... I don't know what they're called. Something crazy like that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. But hey, if
If
we're...
they've ever been hit with lightning before.
Yeah, well, I haven't either, but I don't think it's something that I'd recommend. Given that I can only imagine how much lightning hurts.
Yeah, that seems like a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, we're corpses, but it still bloody hurts. So, yeah, but if you come across any one of those things, send them my way. I'll pay you a pretty boon for it. Because I'd love to be able to understand how these things work and, well, how to not get shot by them in the future.
Good to know. I'm trying. Should I encounter one, find it for you?
Yeah. Because if Charon is the brains, then that'd mean they're also supplying the tech. But I don't know if they are. Could be that they are. And that Charon's keeping all the advanced goodies for themselves, which would explain why everything is not really lining up. But, I don't know. They're getting it from somewhere. But that's something we'll learn when I think we get into Charon's own haven. As for the ECTC, well, cracking them's been quite a challenge for me. It's been, you might even call it enjoyable. But we still got a lot of work to do on that front. I'd focus on Chiron for now. Who knows, maybe a work on Chiron will distract the ECTC. If they start opening up communication, then I'll probably be able to tap into that. Given enough time and effort. Just need to know that they're doing it. But when I need someone to show them the door, I'll let the both of you know. For now, do as the good lady says, because she's in charge.
Understood.
Excellent. Good to have some trustworthy faces in these trying times. Because God knows we're anything but trustworthy.
I like just the silence after that statement. It's like, yeah, trustworthy.
I do, however, trust you all to do your jobs well. And I am certain that you won't betray that trust.
Point me at what you need smashed, and it'll be smashed, I assure you.
Blunt, but earnest. I can appreciate that. I will have my messengers approach you. The Elysium is ready to occur. You will come in pre-prepared. I do not intend to leave those who show far greater value to the domain than those who would step aside in the dark, to be preyed upon by our own prey. We do this for the defense of the domain. But I have little tolerance for those that would submit to becoming nothing more than victims. Should you decide to take on the mantle of becoming a soldier, a hunter, I will have you acknowledged for it. This domain has very much forgotten how things used to be. Perhaps that is the one positive that will come of this incursion. It will remind the young of the hardships their elders once faced. And why they are elders. But that is all I have for you. You may enjoy the rest of the evening here, although, as I'm sure you can see, this is hardly a social affair. But if there is any business you would wish to cover with others before you go, you may do so. I, however, am quite finished.
Thank you for your time, Lady Elizabeth.
Good evening, Master Goodwin.
Should Phineas bow before he leaves again, or is it just like the bow whenever you walk up?
Oh yeah, you bow and you sort of do the kingly, like, do you know how you bow before a king when you leave? You just bow and you just sort of back out the door and don't turn around. Because turning your
Yeah.
back to royalty is, like, considered a big no-no.
Yeah, okay.
Sort of like that.
So, Phineas...
Normally, you wouldn't have to prostrate yourself that much, but again, you know Eliza's a diehard traditionalist, and while she may not be the king or the queen, she's certainly not going to tolerate anybody who doesn't act like it.
Yeah, he'll bow and do the walk backwards and try not to crush anything in his way. I imagine if anyone gets in his way, they'll quickly get out of the way because it's kind of hard to miss him.
I imagine Phineas wouldn't even stop if somebody were to get in his way.
He certainly would not.
He's like, if you're the one falling on your ass in front of Eliza, then that is your fault, not mine. I'm backing up, being polite. You should be showing your respect and allowing me to do so and leave.
I think Courtney, that's many years ago, like, kind of went into the kind of like back steps to go after the bow. Yeah.
Excellent. Is there anyone in particular you wish to speak to before you go? Of course, the Harpy, Bagman, Eliza are all here. There are a few other kindred that have been relatively absent from the domain recently, such as the Carthian known as Chav, a few Crone. Couple of independents. But if not, then, well, you're probably not going to miss this place.
Nah, I can't really think of anybody else I need to talk to.
I mean, those unfortunately I need to talk to, but like I feel like she'll show up when she shows up. She's here now, of course.
Oh, who's here? Sorry.
Unfortunately, that wants me to go back to that baseball.
Ah, no, you just need to go back there. I think she's already spoken with you.
Okay.
Alright.
I know it's with a thing, and then like she just poofed, so I don't know where she went off to.
She's doing stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure she'll show up when she shows up when she wants to talk to me and wants me to go back.
Alright then. Then I think with all that settled, we can end the scene there. Thank you, players for playing. Thank you, watchers for watching. We'll see you next time. And goodbye.
Oh.
Oh, what?